I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Monday, June the 9th, 2014. Israeli President Shimon Peres called for peace yesterday in a joint ceremony with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and Pope Francis at the Vatican. Peres arrived in Rome early yesterday morning, accompanied by a delegation of rabbis, Druze leaders, and imams. Pope Francis had invited Peres and Abbas to the Vatican during the papal visit to Israel last month, in what the Vatican said was not an attempt to interfere in Middle East politics, but rather an opportunity to provide an atmosphere where peace might be possible. The three leaders offered prayers for peace. The Pope urged both sides to take the difficult steps. He said peacemaking calls for courage, much more so than warfare. It calls for the courage to say yes to encounter and no to conflict, yes to dialogue and no to violence, yes to negotiations and no to hostilities. In his remarks, President Peres said we owe it to our children to make peace happen.
I was young. Now I'm old. I experienced war. I tasted peace. Never will I forget the bereaved families, parents and children who paid the cost of war. And all my life I shall never stop to act for peace, for the generations to come.
PA President Abbas called for, quote, a just peace, dignified living, and liberty in our sovereign and independent state. The leaders also planted an olive tree as a symbol of peace in the Vatican garden. Presidential elections will take place in Israel tomorrow to ultimately replace President Peres when he steps down from the position next month. 5 candidates remain in the running after Labor Knesset member Binyamin Ben Eliezer withdrew from the race this weekend, following a last-minute investigation and allegations regarding an apartment he purchased, which many see as a targeted attack on the candidate. The Jerusalem Post reports that Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein said he would not delay the elections after Ben Eliezer's withdrawal, out of concern that there would be further deterioration in the campaign's tone. The Knesset votes tomorrow in a private ballot for one of the remaining candidates, Likud veteran Ruvi Rivlin, endorsed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and whom many see as the frontrunner, former Israeli politician Dalia Itzik, Hatnua Knesset member Meir Shitrit, former Supreme Court Justice Dalia Dorner, and Nobel Prize-winning Technion professor Dan Shechtman. Shechtman said today that if his bid for the presidency fails, he would consider forming a new party. He said, "It is important to me to reach a large audience." Referring to the BDS, or Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions movement, which tries to delegitimize the state of Israel, Shechtman said the boycotts against Israel around the world are critical, and as a leading academic, I could help in this arena. Ynet reports that Israel's government and the Ministry of Immigrant Absorption launched an emergency program to help and encourage Jews in Europe, especially from Ukraine, to immigrate to Israel. With anti-Semitism on the rise in many parts of Europe, the government decided to establish an independent company to encourage Aliyah from there. It will include representatives from the Jewish National Fund, the Jewish Agency, and other organizations. Immigrant Absorption Minister Sofa Landwehr noted that there had been a significant rise this year in new immigrants already. She said 18% more than last year. Landwehr said this project launching at this time signals to the whole world that Israel is the place for Jews worldwide and that the government is committed to the issue. A Jewish man considered to be the oldest man in the world died yesterday at the age of 111. According to the New York Times, Alexander Imich was born in Czestochowa, Poland in 1903. When the Nazis rose to power in 1939, he and his wife fled to Soviet-occupied Bialystok, where they were sent to a Soviet labor camp. When they returned to southern Poland, they found that many of their family members had been killed. The couple immigrated to the U.S. in 1951 and lived in Waterbury, Connecticut. Imich's wife died in 1986. They never had any children. Imich, who was a psychic researcher, turned 111 on February the 4th. He died Sunday in New York City and left his body to the Mount Sinai Medical Center for study. The beginning of this month marks the 47th anniversary of the Six-Day War, which broke out on June the 5th of 1967. And coming up after the news on our Shalom TV programming for tonight, Monday, June the 9th, Executive Vice Chairman of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, Malcolm Hoenlein, remembers those harrowing days for Israel, which brought the old city of Jerusalem, the West Bank, and the Golan Heights under Israeli control and changed the dynamic of the Middle East to this day. That is followed at 7 by Shalom TV's coverage of the 2014 Friends of the IDF Gala from New York City's Waldorf Astoria, which includes interviews with IDF soldiers. And then at 9 o'clock on L'chaim, Mark Golub is joined by veteran Israeli diplomat and former Foreign Minister Moshe Aarons with his thoughts on Israel's current security situation and the two-state solution. That's tonight here on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Monday, June the 9th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.